What's going on, people, and welcome to another Premier League predictions for Game Week 29. Obviously, we've just had the international break, so there's not been any Premier League football for a while now, and I'm not a fan of the international break, to be honest. But we have double game week this week for some of the teams playing, so a lot of football to catch up with. And even though I don't like the international break, we do get the opportunity to get more games fitted in a shorter space of time. But sometimes that can be to the downfall of certain teams and players with injuries. So I'm looking forward to it. There's double the amount of games there usually is. So yeah, let's get into it. First up, starting this game week off with a big one. And it's Manchester City versus Liverpool at 12:30 on the Saturday. I'm going a 3-0 home win though to City in this one. I think last season it would have been more of a battle and a bit more harder to call. But I think that City will probably deal with Liverpool this season as it's going. And they're at home. Liverpool aren't anywhere near what they were. I see City taking the 3 points in that pretty comfortably. So I'm going to go 3-0 Manchester City. Next up, to start off the 3 o'clocks, we got Arsenal versus Leeds. I think this could be a very exciting game. I hope it is. I'm going to go with a home win again in this one, though, to Arsenal. And I'm going to go with the same scoreline as the City game. I'm going to go 3-0. Bournemouth versus Fulham. I've gone with an away win to Fulham in this one. I think it'll be a tight one. I think Gary O'Neill's been a little bit unlucky at times at Bournemouth with the results since he got the permanent job. And Silva at Fulham's doing a fantastic job and had a great season already. And I think that they'll do enough to edge this one out, even though they're the away team. I fancy Fulham for this one slightly, so I'm going to go 2-1 away. Brighton versus Brentford, another one that could be arguably game of the weekend if they both turn up. Both exciting teams and exciting to watch. I think this one could have a lot of goals, but I think that they will cancel each other out. So I'm going to go 2-2. Crystal Palace versus Leicester. I've gone with an away win to Leicester with this one of 2-0. It might have been different if Vieira was still at Palace, which, by the way, I don't understand why Palace have got rid of Vieira. I know they haven't had a good recent, last month results or just over the last couple of months, but yeah, they've just bought Roy Hodgson out of retirement. So they've gone from a bloke under Vieira that's not always getting results, but is improving the team and bringing more youngsters through and changing their way of playing. They're exciting to watch. So going back to the Stone Age under Roy Hodgson, out of retirement, the guy's like 75. I don't know what they're doing with that, and I think it's going to backfire. So for that reason, I'm going with Leicester, 2-0 away win. Nottingham Forest versus Wolves. 2-1 home win for Forest in this one to me. I think Wolves definitely could get something, but at Forest, I think Cooper's doing a good job. And with a crowd behind him, I think the likes of Johnson, Dennis, if he's fit, Gibbs White, I think that they could cause enough problems in the attacking end to hurt Wolves, especially at home with a crowd behind them. So I want to go 2-1 Forest. And then lastly, for Saturday's games, 5:30 kickoff, we've got Chelsea versus Aston Villa. I've gone with a narrow home win to Chelsea in this one with a 1-0. They're struggling to score goals. Emery's definitely not hit top gear at Villa yet. And because of that, I think they're a bit too inconsistent. And I think Chelsea at home will do just about enough. So I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea. Going into Sunday then, we've got 2 games. West Ham versus Southampton at 2 o'clock. I've gone with a 2-0 home win to West Ham. Had a shocking season by their standards. And Southampton are getting results here and there. I think the new guy that's took over there is doing a fantastic job. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do grab something from this game. But I've gone with a 2-0 home win to West Ham. I think they're starting to turn the corner slowly. And I think that they will, at the Bowling Ground, get a result. So 2-0 West Ham for me. And then 4:30 on Sunday, we've got Newcastle versus Manchester United. It's not long since that Carabao Cup final. And they're going to want revenge for it. So I'm slightly worried about this game. But I do think we'll get something from it. At least a point. So for that reason, I've gone with a draw and I've gone 2-2. And going into midweek's fixtures, we've got one on Monday, 8 o'clock. Everton versus Tottenham. Conte just getting the sack, obviously. And Sean Dyche at Everton is turning the ship, I believe. So Yeah, I think it's a bad time for Tottenham in general, and they bottle it when they have managers in place anyway. Everton 2-0 win for me at the very minimum at Goodison Park. I could see it happening. Everton 2-0. Tuesday's games, we've got Bournemouth versus Brighton. I've gone with an away win to Brighton 2-1. I just think they're a fantastic team, home and away. Don't always get the results, but I think that they will against Bournemouth. So 2-1 away win to Brighton for me. Leeds versus Forest. 7:45 kickoff. 3-1 Leeds for me. Being at home, I think it will help them. I think Forest can cause problems, but I think that they will struggle with the crowd behind Leeds, at Leeds. But I do think it heavily depends on certain players Leeds have available, whether or not they will get results. The likes of Nonto, the likes of Harrison. Bamford looks like he might just starting to be coming back in terms of scoring. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Leeds in that one. Leicester versus Aston Villa. I'm going with a 2-0 away win to Villa in that one. I thought it was a bit hard to call this one, but I feel like Villa are a little bit of a rung up on the ladder compared to Leicester. So I'm going to go with Villa in that one, but it's quite up in the air for that to predict that. But I'm going to go away 2-0 to Villa. And then Chelsea versus Liverpool. 8 o'clock kickoff on the Tuesday. I've gone with a narrow away win to Liverpool 1-0. Both teams struggling this season. It's hard to call. It could go either way. It could even be a draw. But I've gone with a narrow away win to Liverpool 1-0. And then to finish off the game week, guys, next Wednesday, 2 8 o'clock kickoffs. We've got Manchester United versus Brentford. Obviously, them beating us 4-0 earlier in the season was not a good look at all. And we definitely need to get some revenge on them. I've gone with a narrow home win for us in this one, 3-2. It's going to be difficult, and we have to be at it because Brentford do worry me. I've gone with a narrow 3-2 home win to Manchester United. And then West Ham versus Newcastle. I've gone with a narrow home win to West Ham by 1 goal with a 1-0 win. So that is it for this game week coming up, guys. Game week 29, Premier League predictions. Let me know your predictions in the comments, who your team has. If you have a double game week as well, how you think, how confident you are on your chances, and how you'll do this week. As I said, lots of games to catch up with. I'm ready for it because I don't like the international break, as I said. There's nothing like Premier League football when it's back, so I'm glad it's back. Hope you guys are too, and I'll see you guys soon.